All righty, everyone. Welcome to today's Wednesday workshop. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Awesome. It looks like we do have two questions. Let me go ahead and pop those open and take a look at them. Okay, so we've got one from Benny. How do I automatically add a secondary contact based on a primary contact being added to the transaction? I think it was called connections. You are correct, Benny. It is called connections. So what you're going to want to do, the first step that you're going to want to do is navigate to your contacts tab. So it's going to be this little person icon with the circle around it. You can also click on these three lines and you can see contacts right here. Once we're on contacts, we're going to navigate to that contact that we want to add a connection to. So I'm just going to grab a random person from my list. Let's go ahead and grab a Linda. Once we're on that contact, we're going to go to connections and we're going to locate whoever else that we need to add on here. So I'm going to go ahead and add, let's say John. Here's John Doe. That's who I needed to add. Once I've added them here, if I want to bring them onto all future properties that Linda is added to, I'm going to want to select add to property. What this is going to do is it's going to make it so that anytime Linda is added to a property, John Doe is also added to that property as well. Just to take a peek at what that looks like now that I've added this to Linda, I'll go ahead and head back to one of my properties. Let's go ahead and grab on one of the random ones that I have. Let's do this one's fine. We'll head to contacts. Here we've got these two people. When I type in Linda's name and I click on Linda, now I've brought on Linda and John Doe. So that's how you can bring them on with connections. This is one of the ways that you can bring on a grouping of people. Now, if you want to bring on more than just two people, maybe Linda has a bunch of connections that you wanted to bring on, you could also create a contact group and assign them through a contact group. So for example, if you've got like a buyer's agent who has a ton of inspectors with them and you wanted to make sure that all of those inspectors came on for that particular buyer's agent, you could create a contact group. And then when you bring on that contact group, so here I just clicked on Jana's inspectors, here it'll show me that list of contacts here. So this is another way that you can bring on grouping of people. To create a contact group, we're gonna head down to our hammer icon into filters. We'll click on groups, and here we can add in the verbiage for that group. Then when we want to add people to that group, we'll go to contacts, locate the people that we want to add to it. So let's go ahead and go to Andy, head to groups, and then just make sure that that group has been selected for that particular person. I know that I went a little bit deeper on that one. It's just because there's two different ways that we can bring on multitudes of people, and I like to show both of them. Let us know if you have any other questions about that. All right. We've got another one. The question I have is, I created a field on the dashboard with the transaction for TC fee paid. When filtering the transactions to see what fee files are outstanding payments, can I show this as a filter to choose? So it depends on where you're looking. When you say dashboard, I'm assuming what you did was you came into your field editor and you created that field. And then you're also using that field on your property. So if I go to a property, I think I have some fields underneath my commission details that are similar to that. So here, this is a flat fee. Here's a flat fee where it has that value in it. If I wanted to see, it depends on how you want to track that kind of thing, right? So here I could change the color coding of it. Let's go ahead and just make this red. I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And when I go over to my properties, depending on what kind of plan you have will depend on how you end up kind of organizing your database, right? And using that information. We can either head to our properties and we can create a table. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this transaction because it has no fees on it. And I can say for my tables, I want to have that detail from underneath commissions. I want to grab that flat fee. Here's that flat fee and bring it to the top and say update. And what that's going to do is it's going to show me that column in our tables and segments. So here we can see where that $500 is. And what you can do from here is once you paid it, you can update that color to green. This would be like an internal thing for you to know whether or not you've paid it or not. So this is one way you can kind of track that information. This is if you're on, if you want to use the tables and segments to track that kind of data. The other place you could head to is you could head to reporting as well, and you could create a widget for it. So I'm just going to create a new one. Actually, let me see if I can use one of my previous ones that I've used before. Let's go to this one. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these other widgets because I don't need them for now. Let me go ahead and add on, all of my users so that everyone's showing up on here. And then I'll go ahead and add on that same field. So I'm going to scroll down until I see commission. I could also use my Control F or Command F feature and type in commission. I like this because it does take me down to that area, but it also highlights the fields that have the word commission in it. Here's that total commission flat fee. I can click on that one, say close, and build the report. And now what this is going to do is it's going to say, okay, check these agents, check these users. What do they have on them? And I can click on the list. And then this will also show me the value. So here's total commission flat fee, 500, 500, 500. And it shows this is for OTC test agent. This is for implementation demo. And if there were any other properties for any other party members, they would show up here as well. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how you can look at it on this way too. Let me know if you have any more questions or if that helped out with yours. If not, we can come back in here and look at this. All right, next question. Why is it so important to put documents into the system? Is it used to trigger and auto add documents to emails? Any other reason? So yes, it is used to auto add documents to emails. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at one of our email templates first. So we're going to head down to our hammer icon, into templates. We're going to be on templates, and then I'll go ahead and just grab one of our random ones. Let's go ahead and grab this test one that we have here. Whenever we're talking about adding in our documents into open and close, the main reason we make that suggestion is because you can have those files automatically attached to emails. Let's say you need to send a copy of that, that EDM to someone. Here you can attach that file role there and then have it send out through there. This would probably be one of the biggest benefits for it. The other benefit for it is having all of those documents in one place. If you are managing your transactions out of here and you're keeping on top of your documents within here, it's kind of a nice place to have them automatically in. We also have connections to things like Google Drive if you're a Google user. And what you can do from there is you can have these documents automatically download to your Google Drive as well. So instead of let's say you're using Dotloop, right? I would definitely obviously suggest using the Dotloop integration as well, because again, for the ease of having those documents automatically attached to emails with those file roles, that's really beneficial. But let's say you're using Dotloop and you need to download the documents and then upload those documents into Google Drive because you're trying to keep a backup of them. Well, if you have them imported into open and close and you have it connected to Google Drive, you can say, I want to automatically put all files into this particular Google Drive folder. And that can be another good use case for it as well. Let me know if that makes sense. We can also go over any other questions that you might have about documents. Looks like, Pamela, you had some follow-up information. I'm just going to double check to see. Okay, so yes, so it was a detail that you had. You have it on your transaction details. Okay. And then let me see if there was anything else. Checking it now. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so that's what I would suggest. Either you're going to head to your properties and you can create, you can add it to that table column here by, locating the field that you want to add and have it in there. And then again, like I said, that color coding can be really helpful for you to kind of keep on top of that if you'd like to do that. Otherwise, you can also use the reporting tool to pull in those values as well to say, how many times was this used? And, like when was it used type of thing. You can see who it was used by, what property it was used by, that kind of thing. Awesome. Looks like we have another question. Let me see, actually, do we have any other questions? Yes, we do. Sorry. Let me scroll back up to the top. Alrighty. So Carol's asking, why is my email box empty? Message, Gmail return. Okay, so sometimes this happens with our email box. I might actually get the same exact error right here. Ta-da, I did. Now, when I get this error, what it means is that I've disconnected and reconnected my email a couple different times. I'm going to have to clear some cache and do some work on the back end to refresh that connection. Carol, my best suggestion right now is to actually just reach out to support and have them walk you through the steps. What I would do is just grab a screenshot of this whole page if you want to and send it to them and say, hey, I'm having issues with my email box loading in here. Now, your email box can have errors loading in here, but that doesn't mean that it's having errors sending out. or receiving emails, right? You can still send out emails even if the inbox here isn't working. But definitely reach out to support to see if they can assist you with this particular issue, okay? I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do anything on my end just because I can't log into your account right now. Awesome.
Hey, Hannah.
Next one. Oh, yes. Do we have any
Real
other?
quick. Yeah,
Yes.
Benny had a question that got moved to answer real quick, so I just want to make
Oh,
sure we don't miss it.
yeah,
He
absolutely.
Can you touch on the timeline that was shown last week? Should I put my dates in individual field sections now that I have that view? If you want to touch on
Ooh.
that.
Oh, yeah, that's a fantastic question. So, oh man, I'm glad you asked that. So we have this feature it might be new to some of you, so I'm going to kind of highlight it a little bit. Up here at the top on your properties, when you've selected a property, we have this little clock button. If we click on it, it's going to open up the timeline and it's going to show all of your dates in descending order. So in the order of, of what they need to be. So here we have those listed dates. It depends, Benny. So it really depends on how your view is and how you want it to look, right? Right now, the way that this account is built out is that we have our critical deadlines all listed up here at the top, which is fantastic because then we can really quickly see it. But if you're utilizing this timeline view more, then it might make sense to have some of these dates within their own field sections. It just depends on what your process is and how you guys want to keep information updated. It also depends on how you guys run your tasks as well. So for example, you could have your tasks set up where, you've got your main buyer's tasks, and then you've got some financing tasks, you've got your HOA tasks. What I really stress is that the reason that it's kind of nice to have these critical deadlines here at the top is that I can see that survey due date has not been filled out, right? So it kind of prompts me to make sure that that value's in there. But if we're looking at this from the timeline, we're not going to be able to see any dates that don't have dates in them. So it really just depends on how you like to keep your information organized. If every single day you go through and you validate, oh, we're at this stage of the process, which means I'm going to be taking care of my survey information. Let me scroll down. Here's my survey information. Here's my survey information. I'm going to make sure that my due dates are in there appropriately, and you kind of go from there. Perfect. I think that's, you should put those dates within their own field sections. If you're more of like, I want to see all of my due dates here. Oh, it looks like I haven't populated, my survey due date yet, or this date hasn't been completed yet, or I haven't received this document yet, then you might want to keep them in a different area. It just depends. Let me know if that makes sense. And feel free to provide some more context. Like, this is how I'm currently running my process. What do you think from there? And then I'll be able to like answer it better. Does anyone else on my team have any idea what they might want to do with that as well?
I know for me personally, when I ran transactions, I like to have it in the section that it pertained to. I didn't have them all together even before the timeline tool. I just wanted to see it grouped up, but that was just a personal preference. I know that Benny did have some follow-up questions too. He said, if I have all the dates in one section, if I add a new one, would I need to update all my intake forms individually?
Yes. So technically you would have to do that. Yes. If we were looking at your critical deadlines here, and depending on how you have that intake form set up, if you have it saying that it needs to bring on everything within the critical deadlines every single time, regardless whether you're handling that process or not, then yes, you'd want to have that, you'd want to go to your intake form, and that'll add them in. Or if you have your triggers set up that, if it's equal, if inspection contingency, I'm going to go ahead and expand this view here. If inspection contingency is equal to yes, then it brings on the inspection dates. And let's say you add on a couple more inspection dates for it, you're going to want to add it to those individual triggers. It just depends on how you have it built. Really good questions for today. Benny, you had a follow-up question from Pam. So can I sort the table by clicking on the column name? So when it comes to the tables and segments, I believe you can. Let me just do it just to check. Yes, it does. So yes, it does do that. So if I click on it again, it's going to show me an ascending or descending order. Now, I think it's going based off of the values. That's what it looks like it's doing, since it put 10,000 at the top and then 500, 500, 500. But yes, technically you could click on that column and it would organize it based off of this view. Let me see if you had any other follow-up questions. Okay, we've got this nice long question. Let me take a look at it.
Oh, looks like we lost Hannah there, so let me get my screen sharing here. So it looks like we do have a question that's coming in regarding our stack icon. So let me get this shared. Oh, looks like we have Hannah back. So,
oh, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you now.
Okay, wonderful. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen again. Sorry about that. My internet sometimes just tanks out on me. Hopefully I can get my open to close to load. Okay, awesome. Let me pop open and see. Hopefully I can read the questions again. Here we are. Here's the question. Did we already go over this, or do we want to
I couldn't get my thing open fast enough. So
no worries. Okay, cool. So we still need to go over Heather's question, correct?
I believe so.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So first thing that I would suggest when you sign up for open and close is to take a look at your fields. You're going to head to your hamburger icon. You're going to head down to templates, and you're going to head into the field editor. Your field editor is going to let you what data is going to be currently tracked within open and close. From here, what I suggest you guys do is just take a peek at it, right? You don't have to make any crazy adjustments to it. If you're looking to delete things, let's say you're not handling a process, what we usually suggest instead is to actually just shift that over into an archived field section. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my archive field section just to show you. I have a couple things already in here, things that I'm not quite using right now, but I might be using in the future. For example, I have my septic details and my well details right now in here. How did I move those over? I can use my groups and I can say sort groups, and this will allow me to drag and drop things over. Now, those fields aren't showing up here because I have them currently hidden, but if I unhid them, so if I click on edit and I say show this section and I say update, and then we click on our sort groups, that field is now going to show up underneath our archive field section. So if you guys need to remove anything, you can. I would suggest creating an archive field section, shifting them over. Feel free to hide those details if you'd like to. But this is what I would start with, is take a look at what data is currently being tracked. Think about what data you want to track. Okay. There could be certain fields that are missing in this area. We don't have an all-encompassing every single state with fields included in here. We just have what we know has been the standard across the board for most states, right? So there could be some stuff that you need to add in additionally. Once you've, felt good about this, you're probably going to come back to your fields quite a number of times as you continue to build out your system. But once you feel good about what it says so far, you can exit out of your field editor and head into your filters. Once you get into your filters, definitely take a look at your contacts. Take a peek at what contacts are currently in here. These are going to be your contact roles. If you're going to import your contacts into open and close, make sure you have all the party member types listed in here. That way you can make sure that when you import your contacts, they get that role assigned. You don't have to do any extra work on updating those contacts once they're imported into open and close. I also suggest making sure that you have your file roles in here. When it comes to file roles, it's kind of a toss-up. You can have it where you have, your BS, which is your buyer sign, your SS, which is your seller sign, and your FE, which is like a fully executed document. Or you can just have the name of those particular documents. It depends on how you want to track your information within open to close. If it's important for you guys to know what stage that document is in, maybe you're using DocuSign, you've got your initial signatures, you want to make sure that you've received the buyer sign document or the fully executed document, then it might make sense to have each iteration. Otherwise, having just the name of it in here is good as well. Those are the first 3 things I would start with. After that, if you're like, okay, where do I go from here? I suggest heading to Open to Close, clicking on our Learn tab, and going to our webinars. We have these group onboarding calls where we talk about how to set up Open to Close. Today, we went over Contacts 101. Next week, we're going to be going over Settings Integration. You can join these calls at any time that you guys come in. So there's not necessarily like, if I join this one, do I need to have the back, do I need to understand the other parts of it? We go over from beginning to end how to set up your settings, your integration. So setting up DocuSign or Dotloop, setting up your SkySlope, setting up Google or Microsoft. And we also have like live Q&A as well. So if you have questions and you want to raise your hand, you want to be unmuted, we do that on those calls. This is where I would suggest to go if you're looking for even more training. The other options that we have is obviously written content. We're currently reviving some of our written content, so I'm not necessarily going to highlight that right now. Your best bet is to take a look at what fields are in there, take a look at your contacts, your documents, and then come check out what webinars we have coming up. And those happen every single Tuesday and Wednesday at, I think it's 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Any other suggestions from my other panelists, though, on other things that Heather might want to look at first?
I'd say you about covered it there. We do have a lot of support options with Open to Close, and so it's just a matter of finding what works best for you and your learning style and the time that you have on the system. And if you're looking for some additional support, I'd say reach out to us in our help channels. We are more than happy to hop on and walk you through some of those personal setup logistics that you're asking questions on and strategizing on. So definitely lean on our team. Let us know how we can help. And from there, just strategizing within our community has been really, really huge for users too. So definitely take advantage of our community pages, just seeing what other users are doing as well. But that order that you covered there, Hannah, was pretty spot on.
Awesome. Awesome. We've got another question from Heather. It says, what are the difference between tasks and triggers? Can you build a system that use both depending on the transaction? For example, I see this task as call seller and trigger as email seller. So it depends. Tasks are usually related to task templates, or always related to task templates. Tasks are going to be sort of think of it like a checklist of things that you need to complete to make sure that that transaction stays on its timeline, right? That we're meeting those deadlines. So here's an example of what the tasks can look like. When we're talking about triggers, there's a couple different types of triggers that we have within Open to Close. We've got task triggers, we've got property triggers, we've got intake form triggers, we've got quite a number of them. So first, let's just really quickly take a look at what a task trigger is, because I think that that's kind of what you're asking about. And then we'll compare it to what a property trigger is. So I'm going to head over to, again, our little hamburger icon up here. I have it expanded right now. Anytime I'm running into the back end, jumping into the front end, I like to have this expanded. It makes it easier for me. We're going to head down to our hammer icon into templates, and then we're going to head into task templates. Heather, I know that you had someone custom build, so some of the verbiage here might be different from what you have, but as long as you have task templates in here, you can use the same kind of logic for your task templates as well. I'm just going to scroll down and click onto our buyer's main task template. We're going to select edit. That's going to allow us to view this task template. Once we're in the task template, we have our list of tasks here. I can edit the tasks if I want to, but the thing that we're going to focus on right now is these triggers. So these are task triggers. What that means is that when I check off this task, or when this task is past due, the triggers will do something as well. If I click on the triggers for send opening emails, I've got 4 right now. These 4 emails, the first one is initial meeting with the buyer, sample file review requirements, buyer intro to closing parties, and intro email to buyer. So this is 3 emails and a text message. I'm just going to bring my text message to the top. These are task triggers. So when I check off this task, these 4 triggers will get ready to queue up, right? Currently, if we click on trigger options, I can see what these triggers do, like what are they set as right now. All of them are currently set as trigger will be queued. What this means is I'm going to have the ability to review this content before I send it out or before it gets to the people that are on the recipients for these particular triggers here. If we wanted to make them automatic, we'd flip the switch. While you guys are working though, and you're brand new to the system, I definitely suggest sticking with trigger will be queued until you feel really, really confident about your process and you feel really, really confident about you filling out those values, right? If I scroll down and I made, my intro email to buyer automatic, I'm not going to have the opportunity to make sure that I have all my party members as recipients. I'm not going to be able to make sure if my smart blocks are populating correctly. I'm not going to be able to make sure if my merge fields are populating correctly as well. So we always like to say, keep it as trigger will be queued for the first couple months while you guys are figuring it out, while you're getting more comfortable with the system. And then as you get more comfortable, I usually see people starting to turn that on for like reminder emails. Usually that's what it starts with. Now, these are task triggers. Task triggers are specifically for tasks. This automatic send is only on task triggers, okay? These will go off when I check off this task. When I say, okay, I'm good with my sending my opening emails, then these 4 emails will go up to the queue. They'll be ready for me to review, or 3 emails, 1 text message. When we're talking about property triggers, that's going to be a little different. I'm going to head down to our trigger templates. And I'm going to go ahead and go into my articles and updates because I have a couple trigger templates here. Actually, you know what? Let's go to HOA. I think I have a really good example of trigger templates for my HOA. Let me see. Here we go. Here's my HOA trigger templates. I'm going to go ahead and select edit. These trigger templates here. Now, trigger templates, when we're talking about property trigger templates, we're talking about when I update a value, a field, when I add on a contact or a contact is missing, or if I add on a document or a document is missing, what needs to happen next? Property triggers are going to be going based off of the data, the party members that are on that transaction. So if we look at these ones, it's kind of different view. It looks like that same task trigger view, but instead it's the full screen. If I scroll down, what I want you guys to take notice here is this is an example of what one of those triggers looks like. I have here a condition that says the HOA status must be equal to waiting on docs or the HOA docs receive date is blank. So either one of these, if I don't have a receive date in there, then it's going to have this trigger come up to queue. If I have that waiting on documents, then this trigger is going to come up to queue. If both of them, one of them says waiting on documents and this one is blank, this email will come up to queue, right? This means that this email is ready to go out. We need to reach out and get those documents for the HOA. Whenever I see people starting out fresh on their account, right? They just created open close. They're like, I want to use everything right away. This can seem very, very overwhelming. And the reason it is because we need to understand the basics of what everything is within the system, right? When you said tasks and triggers, I'm like, is she talking about task triggers? Is she talking about property triggers? Is she talking about intake form triggers? There's a lot of terms that we use when it comes to triggers. What I typically suggest for anyone who's starting out new, have your task templates really, really built out, right? You know that when you check off this, that's when this happens. As you start to wanting to convert and use property triggers, that's what these are here. What I suggest is you take a look at what those emails do on those tasks and you say, okay, when I update XYZ field, when I add XYZ document, when I have XYZ contact on this property, that's when this email needs to go out. That's when you can start to make that conversion. But initially, when you try to get in here, it's very difficult to think about what kind of conditions you want to use. And for property triggers, we're going to want to utilize those conditions to make sure that those emails are populating on the correct timeline. That was a lot of information. Let me know if that makes sense. Is there anything else that my panelists want to add?
Just tacking on to some of the details in this post with like calling the seller versus emailing. Mm-hmm. You can have a prompt in your task to call and a task trigger to email. So you can combine it in both, especially if you are utilizing subtasks. So like Hannah's saying, I'd really define what you want that step and the timing of those steps to be. Be mindful of which plan you're on and how you want to create those triggers. But you could have it in one task where it's prompting to call and email, as long as the timing is the same.
Yeah, so thank you for pointing that out, Jenna. So here I've created a task that's called seller with EDM update. And let's say you call a seller, everything looks good. And you say, hey, I'm going to send you a follow-up email right after this with the EDM. You can have it that trigger brings on that EDM as well. So I'm just going to apply, I think I have a template that says Hannah on it. No, I don't. Do I have a test one? Test. Cool. I'm going to just apply a test email template for now. I usually always suggest applying an email template so that way, if you need to make any updates to it, you can. But this is an example of exactly what Jana said. So the task says call the seller with an update on the EDM. You call them, hey, earnest money deposits at this stage. I'm going to send you an email with some follow-up details. The moment you check off this task, this email, this trigger will go up to the queue bar. You can review it. It looks great. It's attached the information that I need to send that email out. Or you check off the task. Once you feel really confident in your process, you can have that email auto send. Alrighty. Can my next question, can my docs be loaded onto the document tab, trigger emails to send? Technically you can build it out. That would be something that would be on the scale plan. So, you know how I was just talking about how property triggers are going to allow us, and I'm just going to go back into that HOA example. Property triggers can allow us to send out additional emails. One of my triggers down here could be that, you know, when the HOA FE addendum exists in the property. So when I've uploaded that document and it has that file role associated with it, this email is ready to go. So I would review this email. It looks good. And I could send out this email. That would be the way that you would have it built out. There's no way currently that, you know, like let's say a document comes in, you file it and an email automatically sends out. That would not be possible currently. Emails are only either sent out by coming up and being ready to go on your trigger pipeline if you're on the scale plan, or let's say you've received that document, you've put it into its appropriate place, and then you check off the task that's associated with it, and then an email can go out with that particular document. Let me know if that makes sense or if you need any more clarification. All right, next question. What is the stacked coins to the left of the address? Oh, this is a wonderful question. So if anyone else is on their tables and segments page, this stacked coins icon, if you click on it, this is all of the options on the property. So if I want to send an email, I can click on emails, and it's going to take me to the emails. I can see what's scheduled, what's been sent on this property, what property emails we've received. If I want to check out the details, I can go to the details. If I want to search the details on this particular property, I can search for it. If I want to check out an integration, I can check out an integration. Essentially what this is it's a really quick menu, a quick access menu that's available on your tables and segments page. I definitely suggest you guys take a peek at this because it's pretty cool. Next question. Hello, can you remind me where to go in OTC to update my smart block criteria if file role, file name missing? How do I change it so that a placeholder can be showing in the documents, but the criteria won't block the trigger unless there's not a full file uploaded to the placeholder? So 2 parts. If we want to get to our smart blocks, we're going to head down to our templates. We can click on smart blocks. This is going to pop open our smart blocks. You can also click into any space within open to close. So here I've just clicked onto this middle area. And if I do Control S, that can also pop open my smart blocks. Now, the part that you're referring to is how do I make sure that the settings are correct? We're going to head down to our gear icon. We're going to go into our global settings, and we're going to go down to our defaults. Once we're in our defaults, we're going to want to make sure that here, this particular setting is updated to whatever you need it to be. So I'm going to try to read your question again, but the criteria / smart block won't trigger unless there's not a file uploaded to the placeholder. So here you would want to make sure that it says no file must exist to process conditions. What this means is there needs to be a physical PDF JPEG document uploaded to that placeholder for the conditions to process. Panelists, that's correct, right? I just want to make sure that I've got the I've got the green light from you guys too, right? This is what we would want it to be if we wanted to. It doesn't need a process until the actual document's there, correct?
Correct. And by selecting this option here with file role conditions, if you automatically hard code your file roles into your document templates, if you need to get the missing logic, I'm sure you'll go over this, Hannah, you're likely going to need to use fields in tandem with your file roles. I can elaborate on that if that would help.
If you'd like to, I'm not sure. It's up to you. Do you want to, or?
I would say if you guys run into that, you are building out file role condition logic where you are turning on this global setting. You're able to, fire things off when that document exists in the property, and you're trying to get the opposite of that condition logic where the document does not exist. Feel free to reach out to us in support, so that way we can dig into it in a more individual one-on-one type thread. But that is something that we do see a lot of users using fields in tandem to be able to say, hey, here's the status of this document, or we don't have it, the received date for it yet. So feel free to reach out to us. We do have some previous webinars on that one as well. I think that's as deep as we probably need to go.
Awesome. Awesome. So we've got another question in the task pipeline. What is the timeline verification button? I don't remember seeing this pop up. So I'm afraid to push it and mess something up. So let's go to our task pipeline. Let me see. Where is this timeline verification button that you were referring to? Was it on a task card, or am I just not seeing it initially when I click on here? Let's see. Your buyer's task in green. Oh, up here at the top. So this is going to be the snapshot. Tammy, it might be a snapshot that we created on one of our previous calls. Up here at the top, this is a snapshot where you can name any one of these. So timeline verification could have been a snapshot that we created together on call. You're not going to mess anything up by selecting a different one or updating it or changing it. If you'd like to change the verbiage for it, you can just click on update snapshot, and then you can enter in a new name as long as that snapshot's selected. So here it says all tasks. If I say update snapshot, I'm updating all tasks to say all team tasks. Say submit, and then it's changed it to all team tasks. So that's how you can change the name of that. Would BS, SS, and FE be important if we were planning on using the automation in the scale plan? It depends, Benny. So it depends on how you build it out. You could definitely use that on the scale plan. You could say, you could have conditional logic that says if the file role, I'm trying to think, inspection response, BS, right, buyer signed, exists on the property, then we need to send out an email to get the seller's signature on it. So you could technically use that BS, SS, and FE as in conjunction with your conditions on the scale plan if you'd like to. That is one way to do it. Team, is there any other way that you can think of that BS, SS, and FE would be really essential for the scale plan or using the scale plan?
I definitely, like Hannah mentioned, if you are using your file roles specifically to track the different, phases of signing, that's where you're going to see a lot of the automations kick in. If you are just creating file buttons for BS, SS, and FE, that is not necessarily going to automate anything, but that would allow you to visually track easily if you have all signatures at that point. So file roles will be the automation piece. If you want those buttons, that is totally up to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. I'll just touch on that really quickly. So a file role is going to be this little fire icon here. If we click on this little drop down next to it, these are all your file roles, like I had mentioned before, underneath your filters. And then the buttons that Jana's referring to are these buttons right here. So if I click on file button on a property, it's going to pop open my buttons for me. And these are the current buttons that I have. I have a UTC, uploaded to compliance, approved by compliance, missing initials, and not needed. What this means for me is that if I feel good about these, I can say, oh, it's not missing. Actually, I uploaded it to compliance. When I click on those buttons, it can update the color to it. I can have it red, green, or purple. These colors did come from just a selection that came from a different system. Someone had requested, hey, can we have these colors? We said, sure, we'll add them in there for you. Like Jana said, these buttons are truly for that visual confirmation versus like any sort of physical logic. So if you wanted to use the physical logic, we would want to have that file role associated. how do I know what has been updated in the system? So it depends, Benny, if we're looking at a property, we can head to the More tab and we can go to Activity and we can see what has happened on this particular property. So you can see it's been open a number of times in the past couple of days or in the past month. But if we scroll down here, we can see tasks that were completed or opened. We can see documents that were uploaded, files that were added, that kind of thing. So this is how you can check it on the property. If you're looking for a different kind of like history or updates that you can see on your system, let me go to history. I believe this shows our last access contact or properties and contacts. As for like, if you've made any updates to your system, I'm not sure that we have a specific area for that, but if you're looking for updates that like we, the company, have created, you can always go to your person icon right here and go to change log. And the change log will show all of the new features or current features that we've made updates to. So you can see here, July 21st, which was only a week and a half ago, I believe. These are the different updates that happened within open to close. So if you want to see any updates that we've made to the system or to your guys' system, you can see it here. And we go back way far back. So definitely feel free to check out the change log if you're interested in those types of updates. So Pam, how from there do you then mark to send? Gonna need a little bit more information, Pam, Pamela, if you don't mind dropping that into there. Let me see if you followed up anything more. Already answered that. Okay, cool. Great. Is that the time? Okay, cool. Sweet. So we'll go ahead and mark that one off. Awesome. All right. No worries, Craig, if you're rewatching this. We got to your question earlier. Sorry about the delay. Next one, can we talk about date templates and what a fallback field is? Absolutely. So as you've noticed, I'm going to go to our webinar one, and I'm just going to expand our fields again. What I want you guys to take notice here is that we've got that contract acceptance date, right? That's going to be our start for our date template. Typically, we want to have a contract acceptance date. What's the date that this contract first became executed? If you notice with all of these other dates, some of them have a due date and some of them have a day's number next to it as well. Depending on what your contracts say, your contracts might say, oh, inspections are due 21 days after contract acceptance, correct? So if it's always 21 days, then on your date template, you might have it be hard-coded 21 days. But let's say that value changes. Sometimes it's 21, sometimes it's 17, sometimes it's 35. What that fallback field is going to be that additional if it changes. So now that we've seen what it looks like on the property, it's going to take that logic. Let's go ahead and head into our date template and take a peek at it from there. So I'm going to exit out of our property, click on our 3-line icon, head down to templates, head into templates. We're going to go into our date template. If you guys have that pre-built account, you're going to recognize this date template that we have. If you're building a new one, you're just going to say add new and create that new date template. I'm going to go ahead and go to one that's already built because it already has some values in there that we can play around with. We're going to select edit. Once I'm in here, let's go ahead and just deal with the earnest money first, because I think that that's a perfect example. If you remember on our property, it said 5. When I click on earnest money, here we have that days field as defaulting to 3. So what this means is that typically on my contracts, it says 3 calendar days after contract acceptance is when the earnest money is due. Or let's say my contract changes. Sometimes it's not 3, sometimes it's 5. The fallback field is going to be if that number is different. So here I can say, well, just in case it's different, I want to be able to change it. So I want to be able to add in a different number here. So this is what this due days number is. Whenever we're looking at our fields, and I'm going to go ahead and exit out of our template editor, because as you can see, we've got a couple other ones. Like this one has 10 calendar days after contract acceptance is when the HOA due date is due, or unless we have a different date that we include here. When we take a look at our field editor, what I want you guys to take notice is that we've got that due date, and then we have its corresponding due days number with it as well. So the main thing that I want you guys to take notice of when you're creating those, if you're like, oh, Hannah, actually, I do have a lot of dates that do change. Like my contracts are always written in different, right? Sometimes it's 17, sometimes it's 21, sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 3, right? Whenever you're going to create that, we've got our earnest money due date, we're going to want to make its corresponding number field as well. So when you're creating those field types and you're creating a new field, that field type that you're going to want to choose to make sure that you can select it as a fallback field is number. I've seen some people add in, oh, well, it's a text, you know, I can pop in any number, any value there. We're going to want to use a number. Otherwise the system's not going to know, oh, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a number. So just keep that in mind. Let me know if that makes sense. Benny, it might be better if you go, I have this value or I have this date on my contract. It sometimes changes. How would I build that out? And I can give you an example from there. Anything else that my team wants to add? Wonderful. Oh, wait.
I would just say if you are adding in new fields, just keep in mind your intake form. If you are using it, make sure that any new fields also get added there as well, just as you're doing that build out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So if we go and take a look at the way that this intake form is built out right now, I have one of my intake forms. Let's go ahead and go to buyer's residential contract. The way I have the pre-built intake form built out, if you guys are using the pre-built account, is that we do have it built out that when you enter in, you know, I say, yes, there is an HOA. Here it's going to ask for the HOAs and dues amount. But if I think it's actually scroll down. Is it scroll down? Oh, let me add in some more values. Let's go ahead and say yes to home warranty. Yes, there's this information. Ooh. Let's go ahead and say, yes, there's an appraisal. Yes, there's a loan. Yes, there's an inspection. If I scroll up, I have my fields all out of order. Here we go. Here's the critical deadlines. Here's that HOA due days. So it's bringing on that days field. So here I can say, oh, it says 15 on my contract. This is where you would want to make sure that it's added onto your intake form. I got to reorder this guy. This guy's all out of order. I was like scrolling up and scrolling down. Okay, next question. Contacts. I know we don't have the option to organize contacts by role. Okay. So I take and you manually group them. Why when I go over to email, does the grouping that I set not carry over? Part of the reason. Copy someone, for example, when the lender has 5 people in that file, I don't want to have to hunt around want to run down. Have an agent.
And I was doing a little bit of prep on this one because it's a deeper question there. I would pull up a property, Hannah. I think it's correct us if we're wrong on this, Tammy, but it sounds like you are sending a one-off email from a property instead of necessarily tied into a trigger or a template where you're having to click this add function. I would want to clarify, you know, are you using those email templates? If this is something that you're sending out quite often, you know, if you can build it into an email template, that's where you can build in those contact roles. So you don't have to add, you know, the CC on all lender email contact role for those 5 LOAs. You could just apply the template where the role is built in and all of those recipients should be added in. You can adjust from there. So with one-off emails, you would be coming in, selecting this add function. At that point, because it is more of a manual process, you're going to be clicking on those 5 twos or those 5 CCs. But again, if this is an email you know you're going to use in the future, you might as well just throw it into a quick email template. That saves you time in the long run to be able to use it again and again, save time adding those 5 recipients.
To add on to that even more, if the content of the email changes every single time, when you go to create your email template, you do not have to have content in that email. You can just say lender CC email, right? And then you can have it set up that it has all of the contact roles on it. I'm just going to grab the first 5 that I have here, say that it's sending to this particular person is BCCing these 3 people. I don't have to have anything in the body of this email. I don't even have to have a subject for it. If it's just to organize to have those people automatically added in here, I can have those contact roles on there, head back to that property. I don't know if I have all of those party members on this one, but I can go to my emails and say, I want to apply this lender email that I just created. Here's my lender CC and say apply. And it'll automatically grab those party members and pop them in there. I didn't have everyone that I selected from that list, but just in case you're like, well, the body of the email changes every single time or the subject changes every single time, you can still use your email templates to help you out with that. Just like quick, instead of you having to click add and then select people, you can say apply template really quickly, pop on that template really quickly, and then boom, run from there. Awesome. What is a snapshot? Is it a filter? Yes, that's exactly what that is. So when we're taking a look at the task pipeline, or we're taking a look at the trigger pipeline, because it could be on both of them, this is where our snapshots come to be. What it is the ability to be able to kind of filter the different tasks that you might have on your task pipeline or your trigger pipeline. So when we're taking a look, it says all team tasks. Here we've got no teams, users, property clients, all of that is kind of like clear. So it's showing me everyone. I might want to go to my buyers tasks though. And when I'm on my buyers tasks, I just want to see the filters for buyers. So here, I believe I can click on tab or on our, on our tags and select buyer. And then this is going to show me the buyers. And then here I can see it's filtered by a user. Maybe I want to remove that user. And I just want to see anything that's associated with a buyer, show me all the tasks with that. And what this snapshot will do is it'll show me that and it'll save it. Same thing with the other ones. If I go to inspection tasks, here I've got inspection tasks and inspection deadline tags here. And now it's going to filter based off of that. Custom buttons. I think you're probably talking about the custom buttons on the property because I know we were talking about the documents. Yes, any document buttons that are underneath file buttons up here at the top. I'm just waiting for it to load. Here we go. File buttons here. These are all custom. You can create whatever, 4-letter or 4 numbers that you need to, whatever's going to let you know that what that is. And then you can pop in what that hover over tip is as well. I like this because obviously if I hover over it, it says upload to compliance, approved by compliance, missing initials, whatever you need it to say. How do I see new development or new features? So yeah, that's going to be the change log. So if we head over to the change log, this is where we keep this updated as much as we can. But this is where I would see any of the updates that we have to the system or any updates that have happened in the system. Makes sense. Can you show an example in the property of how that date changes? Absolutely. So if we take a look at our webinar date and we expand it, here, once again, we have that this is worked out to be 5 calendar days after contract acceptance is when our earnest money's due. If I change this to 10, as long as there's not a holiday, it's going to change it to 27. So it could be a holiday, or again, it's going based off of calendar dates. Here for this one, it says solar disclosure. It says 3 right now. If I put in 5 and I update that number, it's going to update that number if there's logic tied to it. HOA due dates, if I update this number to 5, not 56, I could change it to 56 if I want to, it's going to change that back down to 20. So that's an example of how that works. If we wanted to see what date template is applied on this particular property, we have 2 places that we can go. We can head over to our health bar up here at the top. If you guys are using intake forms, you can either go to your intake submission or intake approval. Typically your date templates on your intake approval. And here you can see what date templates applied. You can also head over to our little drop-down icon here, go into defaults and settings and head down until we see our date template here. And if we needed to select one manually, we can select a manual one and apply a date template from here. If a date template's already applied and you select one from here and you say update, it is going to refresh all of those dates and it'll reapply that date template. So just keep that in mind as you guys are kind of taking a peek at your system. Do we have access of this recording session? Yes, absolutely, Vita. We do have it. So all of these Wednesday workshops are recorded. They get uploaded. I believe it's within like 3 to 4 business days. I think that the YouTube recording goes up much faster than it being posted in our support system. But if you're looking for it, you can head to your little person icon here, head into support center, and you can type in Wednesday workshop. Or just type in Wednesday. That's all I did. And here you can see these are all the Wednesday workshops. If I click on Wednesday workshop, it's going to take me to that webinar or that workshop. And what I like to point out here at the bottom, our team is so awesome. Our team has it set up where you can hover over and you can see what the questions are. So if you're like, oh, I'm looking for my very specific question. That's why one of our buddies earlier was saying, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it to listen to my question. They can come here really quickly and see, awesome, here's not able to make my conditions work. That was me. Let me click on this and let me watch that particular portion. Or you can also click on Wednesday workshops up here at the top, and that's going to take you to the list of all of the Wednesday workshops that we had in the past. For the YouTube, I think it's just open to close. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I'm subscribed. type in open to close. Here's open to close. And I'm going to this so that I can grab the URL for it and drop it in the chat. For anyone who's interested, definitely feel free to subscribe to this. The Wednesday workshops are uploaded here first, and then they're added to our system. So here you can go to videos and you can see all of our previous Wednesday workshops. We've even got like July 26th. We're still processing that video to add in all of the other stuff that we need to, but here we can see that here. Also, welcome newbies. If you're interested in some more stuff, Vita, I'm not sure if you missed this part already, but if you're looking for more, like very focused training, head to opentoclose.com, go to our Learn tab, head to webinars. And then here we have these webinars that happen every Tuesday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we go really in depth and we talk about, different components of the system. You can join anyone in any order. I believe you can complete all the classes in 8 weeks. Sometimes people will do them 2 or 3 times. So you're feel free to join us on multiple different ones because you might learn different stuff each time. It's a lot of information in an hour to go through. So sometimes I suggest, join it a couple times or, ask for the recording. We can get you access to that too. But these classes are really great if you're brand new and you're just looking to understand, tell me about settings and integration. How do I set that up? How do I work? What's the strategy behind it? This is a really great place to come. And then same thing with documents. Todd's sharing that he is on at least round 2, maybe round 3. And exactly, they're meant to be joined so that you guys can learn more and more each time. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel for notifications. Yes, thank you for that, Benny. Absolutely. Definitely subscribe. You can say what you want it to be, if you want all of them or personalized notifications. That way, when we've uploaded those particular webinars or anything else that we might upload. Other than that, we are just about time. Since we're 3 minutes to close, feel free to pile in any more questions that you guys have. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about some of our support options. So first things first, when you're logged into Open to Close, you can always chat with us here by clicking on the little chat icon at the bottom and sending us a message. I always suggest share a Loom video. If you guys are running into some issues with it, you want to know a little bit more about, I'm trying to build out this and I'm doing this, definitely share a Loom video with us. It helps us so much be able to really get to get the answer to you as quickly as possible. So Loom videos, screenshots, screen shares, whatever you guys have, send that over to us as well. That's really helpful than just saying, I need help me. We'll be like, what do you need help with? Other than that, if you're looking for written content articles, you can head to your little person icon up at the top, head to Support Center, and this is going to pop open our Support Center. Here we covered a number of different subjects today, but the main thing that I want to highlight is that we're working more on our frequently asked questions. So some of your guys' questions here that you've asked in Wednesday workshops, yes, you can find the videos for them for Wednesday workshops, but if you want to know what are the other frequently asked questions that we have, frequently asked questions here is going to be your FAQs is going to be a really, really awesome place to come check out. We're updating and we're adding in more articles every single day. So definitely take a peek at that. Otherwise, you can search for anything. So I think we talked about contacts today. You can type in contacts and it'll pull up anything relating to contacts here. If you guys are looking for the webinar training, like I said, you're going to go to opentoclose.com, head to our Learn tab and go to webinars. Here's our webinars. The last thing that we have is if you're looking for one-on-one time, we do have one-on-one time as well. They're 30-minute calls. I believe there's 6 call packages. And right now I think they're $4.99, but that is subject to change. We're kind of looking at new ways that we can kind of take on calls and possibly kind of expanding the amount of time or the amount of hours and what that looks like. We're kind of investigating into that right now. So wait for that update. I'm kind of excited for that because I think it might be something fun for a lot of you clients who are either, new clients or returning clients, or you want to revive your system or update things in your system. That's going to be a really great feature for you guys. Is there anything that my panelists want to share before we close out the meeting?
Nope, that was perfect.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We had so many questions. This was so much fun. Jumping in there and getting there with you guys. Make sure everyone stays hydrated, use your sunscreen, or stay warm or stay cold, whatever you need to do. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope we see you either on our group sessions next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or on Wednesday workshops next week. Thanks, guys.